Welcome to Kids Craft Hour. Just as a reminder, this is going to be my last Kids Craft Hour in the Central Time Zone. I am moving to New York, to upstate New York, and I will be in the Eastern Time Zone moving forward. So just in case. Hey, Jamie. So I will be changing my location on Facebook and Instagram, so it should update the time zone. You shouldn't have to do anything differently. Only I need to make adjustments on my end. So I will be Eastern Time Zone for the March Kids Craft Hour and forward. So tonight we are going to make Valentines, which I'm excited. If you've never done a watercolor resist, you'll probably be amazed at how easy it actually is. So I am going to go over the supplies first. Well, actually, I'll show you the project first so you know what we're doing, just in case you forgot. So we're going to be making these fun Valentines watercolor resist. Okay, just a quick thing. If you are going to use the oil pastel, it will look like this. It's kind of, oh, there we go. Okay, I have to make sure it will focus on it. This is the oil pastel, and then these are the crayon. So you can see, like, they look really similar. Let me show you two side by side so you can really see the difference. Oil pastel and crayon. Let's see. I have a new camera, so just pardon me while I work with it and figure it out. So yeah, oil pastel and crayon. So you can see the crayon will create a little bit lighter of a line, but it still does the trick. So don't feel like you have to have an oil pastel to do this, because you absolutely do not. So we're going to be making those tonight. So the first thing that you're going to need is, of course, watercolor paper. I use this brand. I actually just bought my first notepad of this one, or watercolor pad, I don't know, of this guy, and it's Arteza brand. Their supplies are good for beginners or professionals, and they're always really well priced. And so I've been diving like headfirst into that brand lately. Okay, so then secondly, you're going to need black paper. I already had this Strathmore drawing paper that's black, and I just used it. It doesn't have a texture or anything. It's really a kind of flat piece of paper. But you can use any black paper because it's just going to be the background. So you just want to make sure it's at least about the same weight, not too much lighter than the watercolor paper you're using. Then you're going to need a pencil and an eraser. I don't have my extra eraser tonight. It's a big change. I just have my mechanical pencil, which should be plenty. You're not going to have to erase too much because you're going to be drawing over it with the pastel. So it's only if you make a mistake, which, as we know, we learn from those. So next thing you're going to need is a black oil pastel. These are by Junior Artist, and I think I got a pack of 12 for like $7 off Amazon. So they're not expensive at all. If you don't want to buy a full pastel set, but you do want to try oil pastel, just try black and then do some basic drawings with it. Other option is to use a black crayon. Next thing you're going to need is glue, and that is only going to be to attach our white paper to our black paper, our background paper. So you shouldn't need too much, but just enough to go around the edges of your Valentine. Then you're going to need scissors, and then, of course, guys, you're going to need watercolor paint. So these are also Arteza watercolor paints in a tube. I just have these left over on my palette. I think these have been on my palette for probably a month or so now. and I'm still using them. So I used to be one of those artists that every time I put paint on my palette, I would rinse it off in between. And now I've become one of those artists that uses every last drop. And it's also like a challenge to myself. So if you really enjoy watercolors, try doing that. Just leave them on your palette and see what you can come up with once you finish that last project. And then I have a paper towel to dab my paintbrush on, and then I also have a cup of water to put my paintbrush in, okay? So that's what you're gonna need for this project. If you have a ruler, it will be helpful, but it's not absolutely necessary. We're just gonna be using it to draw out our squares for the Valentines. This is the design that we're gonna be working on first. If there's time, we'll jump over to this design because I think these two are my favorites. We'll start with this one. If you did not go to the event page before jumping on, do so if you would like a guide on how to draw this. I'm of course going to walk you through it, but some people like a visual of the complete step-by-step guide. So I found a great one online actually, and it was perfect for this project. So I posted it alongside a photo of this. And I also posted a photo of all four of these so you have something to reference. You are welcome to do the same designs I created, or you can do your own once we've completed this first one, okay? So I'm just gonna measure this. I think I remember the measurements, but I just want to double check so I don't give you the wrong. But yes, okay, so I did the white watercolor paper is 4x4. So first step is we are going to draw a 4x4 square on this watercolor paper, and then we're going to cut it out with our scissors. So I'm going to measure out a 4x4 square on my watercolor paper using my ruler and pencil, and then I will cut it out. So I'm going to draw it very quickly, and if you want to, a little trick you can do, since you know that the edges of the paper are straight. If you want, you can start with those two and then measure 4 inches down and 4 inches across, and that will give you your square. And so you can do that on each corner if your paper is large enough, and that'll cut out some of the work of measuring all 4 sides of the square. Okay, so I'm going to measure down 4 inches. Then I'm going to measure 4 inches across the top of my page. And you should have a square that looks something like this. So I'm just going to cut along this line now, and that is going to give me my first watercolor piece. If it's not exactly 4 inches, that is absolutely fine. Who are you making your Valentine for? Let me know in the comments if you're watching this later. Let me know who your Valentine was. I will be giving my Valentine to my husband. He's been my Valentine for, this will be year 7, we've been together 17 years this year. He is my Valentine. But you don't have to give your Valentine to your sweetheart. You can give a Valentine to your mom, or a friend, or classmates, or coworker. It can be anybody. Okay, so I just erased my pencil lines on the outside because I still had some left. So you should just have a square piece of watercolor paper. Super easy, right? Okay. So we are going to be making this design. Let's see if it will focus. There we go. Okay, so that's about even with my desk. So I know the focus point. So we're going to start by drawing a dot in what would be the center of our heart, okay? And we're just going to use our pencil for this. This will be the only thing that we really end up erasing from our drawing, okay? So what I'm going to do, if this was 4, actually I'll show you. I'm just going to make You don't have to do this if it's not helpful. If it is helpful, I am drawing a very light line to the bottom of my paper, and then I'm drawing one side to side as well, about in the middle. Okay, so let's see. You can barely see it. That's how light it is. But that's going to give me 4 squares on this piece of paper. Okay, now we're going to put our dot in the top left square, and we're going to go, let's see, if we split our top square in half again, we're going to put our dot in the bottom right corner of that square. Okay, so I'm going to draw a dot. Okay, you see the dot? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to erase those lines that I just drew to create the squares. Those were just to show you where we're going to be putting that dot. And we don't need them anymore. Okay. So now what we're going to do, you can use a ruler for this. It will make it a little bit easier, but it is not necessary. If you're a stickler about straight lines, which I hope you are, because line work is very important as an artist, and you want to make sure you have a steady hand. So if you need a ruler, use a ruler, but eventually you're going to need to start practicing drawing straight lines without a ruler, okay? So I'll use one a couple times to show you, and then I'm going to draw freehand because I still like to work with my line work. It's one of those things that you need to practice where you use it or lose it. So we don't want to lose pretty straight lines. So I'll use a ruler for a couple of these to show you, and then I'll switch to drawing by hand. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler, line it up with the dot and the bottom corner of the page, and I'm going to draw a line with my pencil, okay? Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw from the dot using my ruler, and I'm going to draw it going a little bit higher than the corner I just drew to, so about right here. So if it was a clock, it would be about 4 o'clock, in between 3 and 4 o'clock, really. So I'm going to do that now, and then you'll see what to do. You're going to do that all the way around your page. So we're going to see I have 2 lines now. So I'm going to keep doing that all along my page. I'm not going to use a ruler now, but you are more than welcome to continue using a ruler. You want to make sure your spacing is similar, because we're going to be drawing lines in between each of the lines you're drawing now. Okay. Tell me which of the 4 designs is your favorite in the comment. Do you have one? Maybe the one we're doing right now isn't your favorite, and that's okay. Maybe you have a totally different card design, which I would love to see when you finish your Valentine. Make sure you post it so I can see it. So this is what it should look like when you draw your lines all the way around. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So this is the dot that we drew originally. These 2 lines are the ones I used the ruler for, and then the rest are the ones I just eyeballed and drew by hand without using the ruler. Okay, so what we're going to do now, you can leave the dot for now. We're going to draw a heart with our pencil, and you want to make sure the dot is in your heart, okay? So you're going to draw the heart around the dot that we drew on the paper. So just to show you what we're going for again. So we're going to erase the center of our heart, the dot and the lines inside of the heart. Like I said, this is going to be the only thing we really erase on here. Everything else we're going to trace over, so don't worry about the lines being too light or too dark. Just erase the ones inside the heart and leave the other ones as they are. That's one of the advantages of using the black oil pastel or crayon, is you don't have to worry about that stuff showing up, and you can just cover it up. So if you've erased your inside of your heart, it should look something like this. And you can see what to do is taking our oil pastel or crayon, whichever one you want to use, and you are going to draw, you're going to trace over all of the pencil lines with your crayon or pastel, okay? And then you can use whatever colors you want. So think about that while you draw your oil pastel lines or crayon lines. I'm going to do that now. So you can see I've got my heart done. So I am going to continue with the burst lines, I guess is what they are, or like sunbeams. They could be sunbeams. It's like we're sending love or radiating love through our Valentine. And I'm just kind of going along the edge. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be the same width all the way around, but more than likely it will be if you continue to use the same side of the oil pastel or crayon. I'm just kind of letting my oil pastel sit along the side of it as I go, and it creates a consistent thickness on the line. All right, that is what your card should look like so far. So all we're missing now, as far as the artwork goes, is we need to do our watercolor paints, and we need to write our message inside of here. If you want to use a marker or a pen to write a message, you are welcome to do that. That might be a little easier than using the oil pastel, the crayon. Another option is leave it blank. You don't have to write anything on the inside of your heart if you don't want to. What you could do is, if you would rather write a message on the back of this and leave off your black backing, that's totally fine. Another option you can do is, I used white gel pen to sign this. So if you wanted, you could use a white pen or even a crayon to write a message on the back of it. I am going to just do the standard watercolor option just to show you what it looks like. I think I'm going to do a pink heart this time. Fill in my heart quickly, and then I will show you. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little dot of the yellow and kind of mix it in to bleed those colors together. So I dip my brush back into the water just to add around the edge of where I put the yellow dot to blend those colors together. And then I'm gonna go back in with just a little bit of pink. So I'll show you what that looks like now. There we go. Okay, so this is what my heart looks like. So there, you can see a little bit of the orange. So now what we're going to do, we're going to create these lines. So I did not draw these out before painting them. I just took my paintbrush and drew the lines inside. And so I've got my lime on my brush, and I'm just going to draw a few lines in a section. Okay, I have got half of my lime ones filled in, so I am a quarter of the way done with my lines. And you'll notice some will be really easy to fill in because they're tiny little spaces when you get closer to the left side of your paper. Taking the time to make sure we're making good time tonight, though. Normally I feel like I'm rushed, but I think this project is perfect for the 1 hour class. That's part of the challenge in these videos, is making sure I pick projects that aren't going to go over the hour time that I've allotted. Okay, so I've got my lime done. So you can see, it's really hard to see. Maybe I should have picked a darker color, but I didn't want it to be too dark. So, okay, so now I'm going to do my teal. So I'll do one and then show you. Next month, we're going to be making hipster caps from toilet paper rolls. So if you plan on attending, make sure you start saving toilet paper rolls. I have 4 different cat designs to show you. I haven't decided like which one in particular I'll be teaching just yet. Since I'm moving, I didn't want to do anything too involved, I guess is the best word, for next month. Here is my teal. I've got one of my teal rays done. So I'm going to continue all the way around with that. And then hopefully my pink will be dry soon. We can go ahead and glue our backs on after that, though, if our paint isn't dry just yet. Another thing, if you enjoy these kid craft hours, please consider booking a 1-hour virtual art lesson with me for your kiddo. Feel free to check out my website. I offer 1-hour virtual art lessons for $40, but I also offer subscription packages. So if you want to set something up monthly, weekly, whatever it may be, I can do that. We can do it on a monthly payment basis versus having to book it every single month and get you on a schedule so you don't have to think about it. But enough about that. If you don't want to do that and you love the free art, that is okay too. I do these because I want parents to have a way to be creative with their children or to allow their kids to have a creative outlet. I love teaching kids art. I say this every time, but I absolutely love seeing what their minds come up with. They are just so great at just being themselves. They just create freely, and it is so beautiful to see and watch, and it really brings me a lot of joy. So yeah, I'm just happy to have you here with me, even if you don't book a lesson. So thank you for being here. So, ta-da! I've got my painting all done. My pink is still just a little damp, so what I think we should do is get our background placed before we work on drawing or writing on these. Now, like I said, if you do not want to write on the front of your card, you have 2 options, okay? You can wait for it to dry and then flip it over and you can write a message on the back. The other option is once we put our background, you can use a white pen, crayon, whatever will show up on your black paper, metallic pen, there's a ton of options, and you can write a message on the back. So don't feel like you have to write on the front of your card. I want you to have some creative freedom in this, so choose what makes you happiest and then go with that, okay? For me, I think on this one, I might not write on the front of the card. I haven't actually decided yet, but I do know that the next step we're going to do is attach it to our black paper. So if you remember, my card is 4 by 4 inches. Like I said, if you did not do exactly 4 by 4, that is totally fine because the way we are going to lay this out on the paper, you don't have to measure, okay? So what I'm going to do, just like we did with our white paper, we used the corner piece to help guide us. We're going to do the same thing with this. And I'm just going to put just a tiny border around my painting. Like the black paper will be my border. And I'm just going to eyeball it and kind of make it the same on both sides. Now, if I was measuring, I would say this is 1/8 of an inch. You could go as big as 1/4 of an inch, and it will look something like that, so you'll have more space. Let's see. There you go, a little straighter. I'm going to stick to 1/8 of an inch because I like the way it looks when it's just a little bit sticking out because we do have the black oil pastel border around the side, okay? Okay, and it's not going to be too much. I just want enough to make sure that it sticks around the edges. So I did a tiny little line around the sides, you can see, and then I'm just going to whoop right in the middle, okay? Nothing too crazy, just a little bit. So what I'm going to do, line up my card with the edge of my paper and press it down so it looks straight. And you should have something like this right now. So I got about 1/8 of an inch border around the sides. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just take my scissors and cut around that. It does not have to be perfect. I think, honestly, that what I love about homemade cards and are the imperfections, because it's unique. It's one of a kind. There's no other card like the one you've just made on the planet. Ever. Anywhere. Nowhere. You have the only card like this in your hand. How cool is that? And you're going to give it to someone for them to love and appreciate. Pretty cool. Okay. It should look something like this. So you can see mine actually is a little wonky on the bottom, and I don't care. It's totally fine. If you want, you say, oh my gosh, I can't stand it. Okay, that's fine. Then just take your scissors and go along, starting at the smallest part, and cut so it's even, Steven. Okay? So there you go. For all of those people that it was driving you crazy. It's okay. You're not crazy anymore. Okay, so last but not least, you're going to write your message, okay? So think about who you want this card to be for if you haven't figured it out yet. And then think of something to write here. If you want to write your message in the heart, make sure you keep it pretty short or you're going to run out of room. So you want to keep it, you know, maybe 2 to 3 words unless you write really tiny, but go for it. It's all you. Another fun, you could write a message along the border in white pen. Like I said, you could write a message on the back of it, or if you did not put your Valentine on the paper, you have plenty of room to write on the back of your artwork, okay? So those are some options. I actually really like the one around the border. That sounds fun, so do that, but I kind of just like how this looks like this. So actually, I think I'm going to write mine on the back. I've just decided. My paint is still a little wet right at the tip because I've been holding it like this to show y'all, so all the water is just dripping down to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a white pen. Even if you don't write anything, make sure you sign it. You can sign it on the back or you can sign it at the bottom. I have a white pen, and I really like this pen. This is a Pentel Milky, and I use this for all of my artwork. In fact, I'll show you. These 2 paintings, I use the pens. I can't, okay, there we go. Sorry, I always do that. And the tip of it is fine enough to get in tiny details. So both of these worked out great with that pen. So it's not expensive either. I think it's $5 or less. Honestly, I've had these so long I can't even remember how much they are. But what I'm going to do is I am going to sign my name at the bottom with this because I'm going to write my message on the back. I try to keep it pretty tiny but legible, and it's important, you know, figure out your signature as an artist. But mine's always pretty small. Right there, it's kind of tricky because my name is 10 letters long. So sometimes I just do a CB, my first and last initial, and then I always put the year. So if you joined tonight, thank you, thank you, thank you. These were really fun to make with you. I actually think this might be my new favorite. So thank you. Let me know how yours turned out. Let me know if you made any other designs after this one. Be sure to tag me on social media if you share. I'm at Crystal Bodiford Art on Facebook and Crystal Bodiford on Instagram. Real quick before we go, so I wanted to show you what we'll be making next month for the Kids Craft Hour. And like I said, I posted that event in the discussion of this event, so it would be easy for you to find. But we are going to be making these really great hipster toilet paper rolls. So these are so easy to make, but they're just, I don't know, they just made me so happy inside. They're so silly. This one, and all of them, I made miniature props for when I did my photos. So this little guy, he likes to read, and so I made him a little cat newspaper magazine type deal. So that's something fun that you can always like do little things like that to add on and build on to an art lesson that I'm teaching. So that's that dude's deal. And then this little lady likes to crochet. And so I took a toothpick and a little bit of yarn, and I made a little yarn ball, and she's got her miniature yarn ball to go with the hipster cat. So these are going to be great. It's just, I used colored pencils, watercolor paint, and Sharpie. That was it, and then the toilet paper rolls. So it's a really easy project, really fun to do. I like made up personalities for each of them because it's just fun. It's like your kids can make the art project, and then they can use their imagination to create stories, and almost like puppet playing or something, like playing with dolls and telling stories. So I thought that would be fun. It's something a little different. And I don't know why, but toilet paper crafts are fun for me. So I figure if I enjoy them, and I'm 38 years old, kids definitely enjoy them, right? So thanks again for attending. If you want to join in next month's Kids Craft Hour, it's on my event page. That will be in the Eastern time zone. That is very important. I want to make sure you guys know that. This is the last one in Central time zone. Again, I am moving to New York, so I will be in Eastern time starting in March. You don't need to do anything on your part, but just make a mental note that that's happening. If you would like to donate to help me keep doing these Kids Craft Hours, there's a donate link at the top of my website, crystalbladford.com.